What's going on, everyone? My name is Nicholas Merton here at DataDash, and today is November 7th of 2017. Well, folks, as you all keep up with the channel, you're probably aware of the fact that altcoins have not been faring too well over the past few weeks comparative to Bitcoin. With Bitcoin going up to all-time highs at $7,500, a lot of people have been curious as to whether or not altcoins are a good buy at this point. And in my personal opinion, I think they are. I think Bitcoin, as we start to see a little bit of a correction down a few $100s, and as we continue to see the exponential price action slow down, I think we've seen a lot of altcoins start to kind of bump up and gain some valuation that had been relatively lost or just pretty stable during the time Bitcoin was going up. So because of this, I think there's a lot of oversold players in the market, and I spent some time over the past day or so finding some candidates that I think could play very well going into the next few days and weeks as we see Bitcoin hopefully pull back and altcoins start to get a little bit of a comparative rise. Now, keep in mind, these are just my, personal opinions, no investment advice, but at the end of the day, I think these are some really good players, both for the short term and for the long term on a fundamental sense, as well as a technical perspective. So today, we're going to go ahead and talk about the 5 altcoins that I think could get a rebound going into the Bitcoin sell-off. All right, so let's go ahead and dive into it. The first one I want to talk about is Monero. Now, many of you out there know about Monero. It's one of the larger coins in the cryptocurrency space, and it's one of the largest privacy coins. I think you'd have a debate at the end of the day between the absolute fanboys of Dash and the absolute fanboys of Monero, debating which one's better and then which one's the largest privacy coin. There's a lot of debate between the communities. But at the end of the day, Monero is a very steady player. As we can see, its valuation has been continuing to rise ever since on a USD and market cap valuation. Since since the beginning of 2017, it's been doing great, and it's been able to hold the mass majority of its actual valuation, making it one of the most renowned cryptocurrencies in the space. It has a good sense of adoption, it has a very nice low circulating supply, and it's interesting enough that this has been able to take off, and I think there's a good reason for it. You have a lot of comparative traits to Bitcoin, but it has one thing that Bitcoin doesn't: privacy. You have a very low circulating supply. You have, both long-term adoption and, existence. It's been around since 2014. And because of this, it made it a prime candidate to really get an ascension up this year. So as we see Monero have a pullback and now maybe an opportunity to go even higher, could we see Monero go up? I think so, in my personal opinion. As we can see here, I look at the Bitcoin comparative more than anything. And we can see that Monero has been having an ascending support line over the past few months, as we can see, pretty much since the inception of 2017. And ironically enough, as I was watching it the other day, I watched it right before we had this big bounce up. But you want to know what caused it? It was South Korean investors. We had mass volume come in from BitHum and a lot of other South Korean exchanges. So as you can see, there's some large scale investors getting in. And as always, they buy low and they sell high. So in the case of Monero here, we had a very nice run up a few months ago, and we could obviously see we had a peak here and then what appears to be the bottom down here, in my personal opinion. So I traced Fibonacci retracements and I built out a trading strategy for it. I think there's a lot of room for this to go up, and we have a few different sell levels to watch. As you all know, I use Fibonacci retracement levels to kind of gauge when there's going to be some resistance points, as institutional investors do as well. And I have 3 sell levels that I'm going to be using. The first one is going to be 50% of my position on the Monero trade. I still have yet to buy, but I'm planning on buying Monero now that it's definitely showing this support down here. I'm thinking about selling my first 50% here, right below the 0.382 line. Along with that, I'm thinking about putting another 25% close around these peaks over here as well. Not only is it near a Fibonacci level here, but also this is previous resistance in the past. And then also I want to put my final sell level around here on the 0.7886 line on the Fibonacci retracement. So I think that there's a few decent sell levels here. I think we've got some good areas we could look for. Right now, what I'm liking is the fact that it's generally holding around the 21-day. And if it can get up above there and maintain above it, I think we could get a nice steady run up rather than one of these kind of flash run ups, in the sense of running up that quick within a matter of a few days. I think this is something we want to look for more over the next few weeks to possibly a month and a half, and going into 2018. I think that Monero is a good long-term player, whether or not you want to do this for a swing trade or long-term play. But again, you got to do your own research, see if Monero at these levels is something you're willing to buy. Do you think that it can keep up with Bitcoin? A lot of good questions. But I got to say, I think privacy is going to continue to become a topic, and it's why it's one of my favorite large caps in the space. So Again, keep an eye on Monero at these levels. Next up, I know a lot of you have been asking, Nick, do a video talking about Neo. You don't talk about Neo much anymore. Folks, the reason why I'm going to talk about Neo is there's a lot of cryptos to cover, but I'm still optimistic on Neo. I haven't lost any sight of my optimism for Neo. But the interesting thing is that I've been looking usually whereas I look at the Bitcoin comparative. As much as it is down on its Bitcoin comparative, I'll be fair and stuff, though it is one of my long-term plays. Interestingly enough, if you take a look at the USD valuation, we're starting to see a wedge in its price action. We're starting to get around $25 generally speaking, and it's just been kind of holding there as we get the highs descending and the support line ascending. This is definitely looking like a good sign. And if we go over here to take a look at the Bitcoin comparative chart, I really kind of have a play out scenario that I think it's going to go through if it is going to be a positive trade. And I also have something set as well in case it goes wrong. In the case here for Neo, my game plan is this. I'm hoping that Neo starts to curve up here and hopefully get a good breakout day or two back above this support line that we had back a few months ago, back I think during July, yeah. Back during July. And even though we're down below it now, what I think we're going to see is a potential bounce back up after a Bitcoin pullback of around 5 or 10% if we get that in Bitcoin. We can see altcoins start to get a little boost up, and Neo could be one of those candidates to get up above here and get above the 21-day. Now, ironically enough, the 21-day is coming right down near this previous support line. What I think we're going to get with Neo here is either a rebound up to find support on the 21-day and curve back up and start going to the upside, or we're going to see this topple back over. And that's why if I'm going to make this trade, I'm going to be setting a stop at 330,000 Satoshis. Still have not added to my Neo position. I got a long-term position, but I'm not doing any kind of trading right now. So again, at these levels, I think it's a very low risk to reward profile. I would say you have a lot more reward compared to your risk if you play it out this way. And what are the sell levels I'm looking for? Well, again, you could treat this as a long-term buy. You could be buying it at a discount, or you could see it as a swing trading opportunity. And this is how I would play it. I'd sell 50% here around the previous highs at 800,000 Satoshis. Great return for half of the trade. And then if you really get a lot of the China FUD that's been still kind of not exactly lingering, that's still just kind of there. If we start seeing some headlines on the positive side of China coming out, or Hong Kong, kind of serving as a safe haven for Chinese ICOs, if that's the case, you could really see this start to go back up, as we've seen with a lot of the news in Hong Kong with exchanges. So I think that a lot of the China FUD is still just kind of generally lingering because we haven't had the positive news come in. Because of that, I think we could see Neo have its the second portion of our trade push up the price action here to around 1 million Satoshis. I think we could get Neo up here, and that's why I'd sell around another 50% up here. But if we got above here at 800,000 Satoshis and it didn't move up to that next level, I'd probably sell the rest around 700,000 Satoshis as my new stop level. So again, very simple trade, but it's based off of the idea that it can get above this 21-day and find support on it, and almost ironically find support along this support line. If it can do that and the stars align, that would be an awesome trade in my opinion. But again, not going to be biased here. You've got to have that happen. If Neo starts to falter over and reach these lows again, that might mean there's still some fear related to the project, or there's not many big announcements or any big developments. All right, so next up is Everex. Now, if you all watched my most recent video, my most recent daily update, you heard me mention Everex as a potential trade candidate to watch. I do like Everex both in the short term, and I'm starting to like it more long term as I read more into it. I will be doing a video on Everex relatively soon, as I am going to with Power Ledger as well. But Everex is looking pretty decent at these levels. This was one of the few ICOs that got me relatively excited, and I didn't feel was, especially in the ICO market where we all know there's a ton of BS. Everex definitely looked like one of the few companies that looked trustworthy. And then also it's tapping into a very large market. International payments, micropayments, international remittance. I mean, these are huge things. And as we all know, Ripple, Stellar Lumens, as well as OmiseGo, play in these variable markets, and because of that, they're very large candidates for valuation. And I think Everex came out at a very humble valuation, only $27 million. And because of that, I understand there's a little bit of risk playing with it. And I think the only major exchange right now outside of BX Thailand is Binance for it. But outside of that, if you're on these exchanges, I would recommend checking out Everex, because right now the price action is looking relatively good. If we take a look here, down on the 6 hour, we can see that Everex had a wonderful ICO reversal. where the price action came up and the momentum started breaking as the volume came in. Now, large-scale institutional investors are looking for these reversals, this cupping and price action, where you can get above the previous highs. Well, after the sell-off here, we saw a level of support down here around 15,000 Satoshis. And after that, we got a little bit of a retracement back up and a little bit of resistance as well. As we can see, the previous drop-off here served as resistance. However, what we're seeing now is the price action starting to cup again, much like we saw during the ISO reversal, a little more extended as the volume was quite quiet. However, as the price action has started to pick up again, as it started to come here back to these previous highs, we're starting to see the volume pick up. Now, it is a little bit volatile right now. I think it's kind of waiting to see if we can get a big volume candle, big buy side action to clear through the sell wall and get above here. But I think if we can really get a closing on the daily above 24,000 Satoshis, this is probably going to see some very positive price action. You're going to get a decent amount of volume, much like we saw over here. And I think we could very well see the price come back up here to these comparative Satoshi highs around 50,000 Satoshis, which would be a great short-term swing trade. This is definitely something more in the short term in the sense of a trade, but I think long-term, Everex could do very well. Remember, remittance market, huge in crypto. So I think this could definitely be a good one to watch in the sense of technical and fundamental price action. Next up, we got Neblio as well. Neblio, as you all know, I've been talking about on the channel and stuff. This has been one of our very good small cap calls. Neblio, I bought my first stake, and I still have yet to sell it since I think it was around like 11 or 12 million dollars. I can't remember. It was down on that first kind of level of price action down there. But I've been holding it ever since. It was the reason I opened up a Cryptopia account because I was very ecstatic about the project. I think it's still going to compete with Stratus. I really genuinely do. And I'm hoping to, learn even more about Neblio, keep engaged with the community, as well as hopefully reach out to the developers one day and just, talk about what's going on and stuff and see how Neblio is doing. But for now, it's been holding well in the sense of technical price action. Neblio, of course, had a correction. A lot of people were very scared because Neblio went from, had more than a 50% pullback in its actual true valuation. And a lot of people were asking, Nick, is this like the time to get out? It's like, and I said, no, this isn't some short-term play that I'm doing. I'm holding this long-term. And in fact, I think it's presenting a very good, buying opportunity down here on a dip comparative to the highs. Now, of course, you got to do your own research and stuff and look into Neblio and see if you like it. And of course, you got to be willing to open up a Cryptopia account. But I've come to learn that, really Cryptopia is relatively consistent. I haven't had any issues with it as much as they have updated the interface. I'll give them that. They got the sidebar a lot better now. But nonetheless, as much as Cryptopia, I know, seems painful to open an account, I definitely do like Cryptopia's, listing of Neblio. I think Neblio is going to see some more listings over the next month or so. Because of that, they could prop up enough volume and optimism to get this above its previous highs. But either way, I like Neblio long term. The technical price action here is fantastic because you've had a run up to 100,000 Satoshis. And look at that clean, spicy 50% to pullback. That's exactly what we want inside Neblio. That's healthy. That's a correction. 50% means that it's setting itself up. It's building a base level of support, and it's going to most likely charge towards new highs. Now, again, not too much crazy technical price action I can analyze here because one, Cryptopia doesn't give me the tools for that. Well, actually, they give me a few tools, but nothing really crazy in the sense of drawing all kinds of crazy things. But at the same time, you don't always need that. You can look simply here at both any of the indicators, the USD market cap or the Bitcoin comparative, and you can see that this has been riding up very well. Okay, so the big thing I saw more than anything, if you want, something we talk about on the channel, what used to be previous resistance tends to become new support. I know, I probably drive you all crazy saying that, but look at this right here. The previous resistance around this area was around a little bit below 4,000 Satoshis. Look at the pullback here. Though it's not letting me draw it specifically. Maybe I need to zoom in here. Look at exactly where the support was for the pullback. 40,000 Satoshis. I mean, it could just be coincidence, or it could be that fundamental rule we always talk about. Previous resistance tends to become support. Again, price levels matter, folks. It's not always about using crazy things like the Fibonacci's or drawing all kinds of crazy patterns on your chart or using Elliott waves or whatever. A lot of it is just usually tendency for big even levels. 100,000 Satoshis, 50,000. Do the math, that's a 50% pullback. That's a very good correction level. And again, I fundamentally believe on Neblio in the long term. As you all can probably tell, I'm staking it. I haven't sold it. I have my wallet open so I can stake it. Again, no need to feel like I'm going to be negative on this one. I do think Neblio is good for the long term, and I think it could be a good swing trade opportunity as well, if that's what you're looking for. Next up, we have OmiseGo. A lot of you have been, I know many of you out there were optimistic on OmiseGo for a long time, and have definitely been feeling some pain if you've been holding from the highs of OmiseGo. Now, I didn't buy at the highs. I did buy my first portion, I think, actually here on this dip here. So definitely, even in USD, a little bit down on it and stuff. No big worry or anything like that. OmiseGo is still a good long-term play. However, what I am liking is that its Bitcoin comparative is starting to flatten out, which is showing that this is not selling off much anymore. So I think we've got a good level here. We've seen a level where there's been previous support, and along with that, we've got a big even, 80,000. 800, no, yeah, 80,000 satoshis, my bad. So because of this, we've got an interesting opportunity to potentially see OmiseGo get some optimism. And again, when we were talking way back here, when I know a lot of people were telling me like up here, like, Nick, like you literally missed out on this opportunity. It's like it's time to get in, dude. This thing's going 10x. Get in while you can. I remember this was when they had the Poloniex listing of OmiseGo, or I think it was Poloniex or one of the big exchanges that was opening up for OmiseGo. And I said, guys, we don't buy at all-time highs. We buy when there's a pullback, a correction. And folks, we have gotten more than a 50% correction on this one. We have gotten a massive buying opportunity here if it can find the right price support, if it can maintain above 80,000. Of course, you got to know, as always, do your research on these coins before you invest in them, folks. See if you really like OmiseGo. I think personally, it's a great long-term play. And you've got an actual company behind the project that didn't just come up overnight and is actually a very large candidate in China. And pretty much all Asian nation states in general, they have their tentacles kind of tied in a lot of places. So I think you've got a very interesting play in the more kind of financial side of crypto, and I think on the technical side this looks very good. So what could we be looking for here? Well, generally speaking, if I were to make a trade opportunity in this, which I still have yet to buy, a lot of these, keep in mind, I haven't actually done trading positions on outside of Everex and Neblio. Outside of that, what we really have right now is, in the sense of OmiseGo, an opportunity to buy around these levels and then set a stop around 80,000 satoshis. I think that'd be the best play here. That's how I personally play it out. However, if you have a larger risk to reward profile, or if you're thinking about holding it longer term, terms are up to you in the sense of how much risk you want to take. That's all I'd be willing to take, because that would mean most likely it's going to continue going down. However, what I think we're going to see here is we're going to find support around this level, even if it pulls back down a little bit. And I think that you're going to generally see it hold above here and start to curve back up. My 50% profit taking level would be here at 140,000 satoshis. And then these two other intervals as well, near the Fibonacci retracement levels, would be around 180,000 and 200,000 for the extra 50%. So 25%, 25%, 50%. Okay, so again, very nice risk to reward profile here. Very nice, especially after this stellar pullback. It's been a nice straight line up, and you, of course, have your very large crypto correction to come after your large gains. Again, you want to ride the good side. Wait for the bad times to come through, and when everyone's just down, everyone who bought up here, is now at this point, they're like, oh my god, I need to get out, Bitcoin is rallying, time to get into Bitcoin. And as they switch over, you buy the cheap cryptocurrency. I mean, that's just, which end are you going to be on? That's the real question you've got to ask at the end of the day. There's some great altcoins right now that are looking fantastic comparative to Bitcoin. And again, if you were on the losing side originally with OmiseGo, I wouldn't be so urgent to just get out now. Again, it's at a huge discount. Institutional players who are going to be looking at altcoins, especially if they're worried about the fork, will definitely be looking at players like OmiseGo. It's one of the larger players in the space, and definitely almost a full-blown, almost towards the end of a large cap, but again, it's still in the mid cap range in my mind. But anyways, those are my 5 coins, everyone. I'm curious to hear what you all think. Again, there's a lot of great plays in the market right now. There's a lot of cheap players in the altcoin space. And though I'm not trying to shill for the altcoin market, I do think at the end of the day, it's one of the better risk to reward profile kind of areas of crypto right now. If you can get the leaders and the winners inside the altcoin space, a variety of large, medium, and small caps, you can find some good opportunities in this market. And as much as I'm optimistic on Bitcoin, we're starting to see a little bit of a correction come in. So we have to keep in mind that this is it's very potential for Bitcoin to see a correction in its price action. But we'll have to give it some time and see if it can continue moving higher or if it moves to the downside. Anyways, everyone, that's it for the video. Thank you all so much for watching. If you all have any kind of topics you want me to cover on the channel, feel free to leave a comment down below. You all know I love getting your feedback, and I try to get back to you if you have any questions. But until then, everyone, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. And actually, before I cut off the video, someone left a comment saying they wanted me to do double snaps. So I'm going to wing it. Double snaps for the end of the video. I'll see you all in the next one. Stay tuned.